the Graveyard Girls.
Right, okay. So this is my case for episode 3. And as I promised last week, we're going for an ancient sort of one.
Ancient one?
Yeah, it's BC into AD. So
Okay.
A long time ago. It's not a crime or anything like that. It's just basically no one has been able to say where this has sort of come from and like why it exists.
Ooh.
So its origins are unknown.
It better not be ancient aliens.
There is an element of that, and it
Okay.
was suggested. I'm not following the whole ancient alien things, but
Okay.
it's thrown in there.
Okay.
So you've heard of things like crop circles and all that sort of stuff. Now, in the dry desert plains of southern Peru,
Yes.
there's a collection of lines and things such as animals sort of
I know what you mean.
into the landscape.
I know what you mean.
So they've been created basically by removing the top layer of that's sort of like pebbles, and the same because of the type of area, they're like iron coated pebbles.
Okay.
So when that's been revealed, it then reveals the sand underneath, which is a completely different colour. So you do that across the landscape, it stands out quite a significant amount. So it's thought that they were created by the Nazca culture between 500 BC and 500 AD. So there's a few discrepancies across the board as to when it was, but most of them, that's the main period that the crossover most people seem to be sort of saying it's from. There's more than 100 of them been found so far.
Okay.
And they're not like little things. These are absolutely massive.
Yeah, they're massive, aren't they?
Yeah. So you could see them, like, they can be seen from the air, obviously. A lot of them, especially in modern days, have been picked up on drones.
Yeah.
But if you were, like, on other foothills or mountains, or even somewhere a bit higher up, you could probably see them.
Yeah, because they only make sense from if you see them from a height.
Yeah.
Which is very strange.
Yeah, it also makes me wonder as well, like, how they created them. Like, how did you know?
Yeah. So this is its leg.
Yeah.
This is its
I've
head.
forgotten which bit I just drew.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they depict everything from, some are just simple lines, and others are actual more like intricate designs of animals such as monkeys, fish, jaguars, birds, and there is some human ones, but not quite so many. They are obviously easily recognisable, but the purpose of them is completely unknown, and that's where a lot of the theories sort of come into it.
Yeah.
The initial ones are sort of, it's either to do with the religious side of thing, or it was also thrown in there that they were created for sailors that were incoming to provide them for directions. But I really don't understand that one, because what, you going to Monkey Land or?
Yeah, because the ones I'm thinking of are on a flat line. So how are you going to see them from?
It's sort of like the pictures I've looked at. Some of them, it's slightly different terrain, but some of them were almost like on the side of like not a mound, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. But yeah, why would a monkey represent? What would that mean to sailors?
I don't know.
Strange.
Maybe for the pirates, here, collect you monkey. Buy monkeys from here. I don't know. But yeah, it's not just that. I think there was some plant ones as well. So again, I'm not really sold on the whole sailor thing. That was, to me, a bit of a random one. But it was one that was considered quite early on. So
in a way, it makes sense. But again, it doesn't.
It's like wildly off.
Yeah.
Some also thought that it had sort of an astronomical...
No, you said that.
Yeah.
Right? Astronomical.
I looked at it first and I was like, I've said it wrong. Some thought that it had an astronomical purpose, and it was like a way to signal the stars. Mm-hmm. Most of the lines run straight across the landscape, but there is some... the majority of them are just straight lines that run across the landscape, but there is more detailed ones which are like figurative design, so that's the animals and plants and humans.
Yeah.
So most of the ones that are animals and plants are between 400 and 1,100 metres across. So these things are massive. Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah.
That's like 10 football fields.
Yeah, I don't even know. How big is a football field?
It's 100 metres.
Fucking hell. Yeah, okay. That's ridiculous.
1,000 metres.
Yeah. So some of these, when you add them together, a combined length of over 800 miles.
What?
Yeah. So I feel like this was like not just a little bit of an undertaking. This was like a massive job. I feel like it was possibly someone's job.
There's got to be more than one person doing that.
I should hope so. In terms of depth for the lines, when they've sort of looked into it, it's between 10 and 15 centimetres deep. And I said it's been made by moving the initial layer of the pebbles. And then it obviously reveals like a subsoil. The lines' widths vary but most are about 33 centimetres wide. So a good chunky line, which I suppose you need if you want to view it from a distance. So like the thickness of the line.
it's very precise as well, 33.
Well, that's an average taken of the other ones, because this is where in some places they've been known to be as wide as 1.8 metres. So I'm guessing depending on the type of it. So I'm guessing those smaller ones are probably more the intricate details.
Yeah.
Obviously, the majority of them have been detected more modern day and have been by drones or someone flying over.
Okay.
But some can be seen from the surrounding hills. The shapes are usually made from one continuous line, and it instantly made me think of my tattoo.
Yeah.
You know, my horse one. So it's when I compared my tattoo on my wrist to those, a lot of them are very similar.
I am thinking of a horse one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The design for that, where it's basically just made with one continuous line. That's sort of how it is on the side.
I guess, do you know how long they would take? There's no
idea. It's a massive undertaking.
Yeah.
And so basically, and because of the kind of terrain that it's on, so it's quite dry, it's not really very windy and very isolated, they've been preserved like amazingly well. Rare changes in weather have temporarily altered the designs, and there was a thing for a while about people squatting in the area, so they've ruined it. But I think it's the sort of thing, I think because they're quite simple designs in a weird way, as much as they're massive, I feel like they're able to sort of put them back to what they originally were.
Yeah, that makes sense.
They can be easily, I suppose, fixed. Yeah, that's probably the word I'm looking for.
I think there are some groups that do that.
Yeah, I suppose like as some sort of
restoration work. Yeah.
So basically, going into the theories as why they were there, the most common one is they're thought to be there related to religious things, so like religious significance. They were first mentioned in books dating back to 1553.
Ooh.
And they were described as trail markers. So people, if they would have done some sort of like pilgrim sort of walk, this would have been like, these were major things, and they would have associated it with that symbol.
I suppose the size of it as well, it would make sense that it's for their god.
Yeah.
So their god can see it.
Significant. Yeah. So again, then it goes quiet, and they're not really mentioned in any sort of literature again until the 20th century. And then in the 1940s is the first time they're properly studied, and that's by an American historian called Paul Kozak. He flew over it as part of his study, and he observed that the lines converged on the horizon with the winter solstice.
Oh.
And it was proposed that the figures were designed as astronomical markers on the horizon to show where the sun and other celestial bodies rose on significant dates.
Oh.
So obviously, depending on the time, like different ones appeared. Although I'm still on that one, I'm a bit thrown out with that, because things like a monkey, I don't know. It doesn't. I know you've got different animals to do with like all different stars and like zodiac signs, and
I'm assuming there's monkeys in Peru, right?
I think so.
I think so, yeah. So maybe
more related to their culture and animals that they associate with it, rather than your generic.
But they might have they might have a monkey god as well.
Oh, I didn't consider that.
So like maybe they have a monkey god, a plant god.
Then this is where it comes into the alien and ancient astronauts theory.
I don't like this.
But it was disproved.
Yes.
So there's a guy called Joe Nickell. He's another American guy, and he investigates the paranormal, religious artifacts, and folk mysteries. So this guy sounds quite interesting. Kind of when I look into some of the other stuff he's done.
Yes.
He basically reproduced the figures using the same tools that would have been available to the Nazca people at the time. So he was basically able to refute that hypothesis based and on the ancient astronauts, because with a small team of people, he could recreate the largest figure within days without any aerial assistance.
Okay, I like this man.
So so he's done it even without aerial assistance. So that's not like someone's flying over and go, right, you've used that bit, you've got to do that line. So a small team of people have basically recreated it very quickly, which would also go back to the times, because I don't feel like the tools are that advanced.
No. This is what I have a problem with, like ancient alien theories. You're wiping away the knowledge of the people from that time.
Yeah.
Because you're like, they're so dumb.
Alien did it.
Yeah, they're so dumb. They can't do that themselves. But then this guy just proves it.
Yeah. So at least he's good enough to actually go and do it.
Yeah.
And be like, right, okay, it's done.
I thought you were going to be like, he's the one who's advocating for the ancient alien. No, I don't like this guy.
This is it. But I thought it was worth mentioning, because as we know, in a good old conspiracy thing and a mystery, everyone has to throw in an alien. So
I don't mind that, but it's like
I've disproved that one for you, so I've made you happy.
Good.
Right. So then another thought was that it was created by the Nazca people at the time as a way of worshipping the mountains. Now, obviously, it's a desert-style land, so things struggle to grow out there. So it's thought that it was them worshipping that and other deities associated with the availability of water. So, which also obviously then leads to the success and productivity of crops. So the lines were supposed to be interpreted as a sacred path leading to the deities that could then be worshipped, and the figures were symbols of animals and other objects meant to aid the deities in supplying water. So basically they pray for whatever. So a lot of this, especially a lot of the animals and plants, are related to fertility symbols.
Yeah.
So the idea is they're painted on the side, and then that's their way of worshipping, and in return they get a good crop.
Yeah.
Because it's already struggling, isn't it, the crop in that landscape? It's kind of working against them already. Yeah. Some then have also looked into, and this goes back again to the whole crop thing, of it having sort of like a calendar purpose. So it's linked with winter solstice for certain ones at certain times, and the equinox sunset, but also the agricultural calendar.
Okay.
So depending on times, obviously, still in today, you grow certain crops at certain times of the year.
Yeah.
So they're suggesting maybe certain animals would have been associated. I suppose even like, I don't think they would have had grazing animals in that sort of terrain, but I suppose if they had animals travelling with them, their own fertility maybe could have been linked with that.
Maybe. That makes more sense.
It was then suggested that some of the geometric lines were to indicate water flow, and that the animals, as I've already said, act as fertility symbols. So almost like you follow these lines, you're going to be able to, I suppose it takes you to land that you can use to, I don't know, provide a living, I suppose. And
do they go towards the ocean?
Not necessarily, sort of on the side of the landscape. So I feel like some of them do follow, I completely ran out of my head for geography, you know, the watercourse.
Watercourse.
But the main theory is surrounding rituals and basically the ancient need to pay debts to gods, and basically it was a plea for water. So like, we've given you this nice pretty symbol, now water our crops and let us survive. So they are basically the main theories put out there. I think
it might be a combination of all three. I think it could be like a calendar.
Yes.
And it could be a way to worship gods.
I think the gods worshipping one, especially for that time, is like a massive thing.
Yeah.
But I think that it's a rubbish one for the whole mysteries because it's something so simple. But at the same time, I kind of hoping it is this way around, because if it is, and if it's what I'm going to suggest it is, it's an absolute genius idea, and this person kind of in a weird way deserves a medal. I'm throwing it out there that someone was just bored and decided to draw them on the side.
Maybe.
Because I like this idea of like, then everything was so like philosophical, like everything had to have a meaning.
Yeah.
And I feel like there was one dickhead guy who was like, you know what? All everyone's doing is analysing everything. Yeah. I'm just going to draw something as like, it's like, decipher that, you dickhead. And I absolutely love the idea that we've all played into it. We're trying to decipher what it is, and we're like, no, it can't be this because this doesn't match up with this. And
like Stonehenge,
yeah.
Someone's just like, let's just fuck with the future generation. It's like,
I'm
just going to draw this horse on the side of a hill.
And that's it. And then
I like it.
I really like the idea that it might have just been some guy that got a bit bored and just thought, you know what? I've got nothing else to do. My crops have failed. I've got nothing to harvest. Just draw a picture on the side. Because some of them as well, like, they kind of do look like they've been drawn by a child. Maybe,
but it also could be a just wind down time for the community. Just draw on the side. Oh, it's like a piece of art, like well, obviously it's not modern art now, but for their time, modern art. Yeah, just drawing on the side of a hill.
But yeah, I like the idea that we're all looking for some like really deep meaning.
Yeah, there's nothing.
Yeah, and I just really like the idea that it was just one guy that one day was like, oh, do you know what? Bit of graffiti, ancient graffiti.
I think the biggest stuff might be more than just one man. That's why I like the community just doing it, just because.
Yeah, chipping away at it.
Yeah.
And it would completely explain why we can't fully explain it and work out where they come from. Because it's not like it's really written down back then from books. So, you know, when you look back at like on the tombstones and the inscriptions, like it relates to something. There's nothing. It's just basically us now suggesting what it could be.
But that could also go back to the original theory for the sailors. They're drawing massive monkeys on the side of a hill to mess with the sailors. Like, don't come here.
That's it. Like, what have you been taking?
Got some massive.
I saw a giant monkey the other day. But yeah, no, I just really like the idea that someone just did it for shits and giggles.
Probably.
And a part of me kind of hopes that that's what it is, because we've spent so long, like, in terms of a whole mystery thing, it kind of ruins that idea. But I just like the idea.
But then again, we would never know.
Exactly. So, and this is what it is. I feel like we can't get to the bottom of it. I really, in a way, part of me hopes that that's what it is. There's absolutely no significant evidence. It's not like worshipping some massive god.
No.
Yeah, it's literally just some guy that got a bit bored one day.
Probably.
Part of me now, it makes me want to do something.
What, so we can mess with the future?
Yeah.
Yes, I think we should. What, a time capsule?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, they were like these really important people. They were worshipped by so-and-so. It's all to do with like certain times of year. It's all different fertility symbols. And actually like, no, we're just a bit bored. Put a bit of grass in a box.
We might need that for the future. So yeah.
There
you go, we're saving humanity.
So yeah, it was a short and sweet one, that one. But it was definitely an interesting one.
I
just really liked the idea that everyone's like really looked into it. And actually it could have the most simple answer.
Exactly. It's like pieces of poetry. So someone's like, it has to have a meaning. It doesn't have to.
It's one of those, it depends on how you interpret it.
Yeah. But the original author is like, I just wrote it because I like that word.
Yeah.
So it means nothing.
Yeah, someone reads into it like, this is what the meaning of this is. And then the original person comes back like, I don't even consider that as a thought.
You're reading too much into it. No.
I'm not that intelligent. I don't give it that much thought.
Exactly. No, I like that theory.
Yeah, it's a good one.
It's good.
Thank you. So thank you for listening. That's it for today.
In the meantime, keep creeping.
And we'll keep digging.
We did it. Okay.